Now, as we all know, back in that time, the church was the social center of the community.
Right.
Everything was around the church. Now, let's focus on my grandfather. And this is what's come to me from my father and from my mother. Old Dr. Gordon, as my father called him, was a stern man. And the boys were not allowed to celebrate their birthdays. They weren't allowed to celebrate Christmas. He was a very, very difficult man. And so my grandmother Gordon told her sons, your Christmas tree is the one at the church, because the church was the center of the community. And I can remember seeing a picture of my grandmother holding a silver chalice, and they were burning something. And I asked her, I said, Grandma Gordon, what are you doing there? And she said, I'm burning the mortgage on the church, because it was a celebration that they paid off the mortgage. Now, there are two funny stories about my grandmother and the church. The first Christian church, we had the old fans. They didn't have air conditioning. The fans with the popsicle stick on them, and it was from the funeral home. You sat in church like this. And so they decided that they were going to have the church air conditioned. So my Grandma Gordon calls my dad and says, Miney, she called him Miney and Toddy. Miney, the church is going to need some money to have it be air conditioned. And my dad, who was really tight with his money, said, well, I'll put in $500. She said, no, you're going to pay for the whole thing, and it's $5,000. So
wrote the check. And then later on, my Aunt Jan played the organ in the church. Well, for some reason, the organ needed to be replaced. And so my grandmother Gordon calls my uncle and says, Toddy, the organ in the church needs to be replaced, and your wife plays it every Sunday. And he said, I guess I'm buying an organ. So she was that strong in the church. Yeah. And she had her own pew with her brass plate on, and my uncle had his own pew. Now, my dad was not big in the church. I don't know why, he just wasn't.